Hello, and welcome to Episode 4 of Fireside Philosophy. Today, I'm joined by this show's director, Matt Lyons. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk today. It's nice to be by the fire for once instead of in the control room. Probably shouldn't have brought the sweatshirt. It's a little bit toasty, but I think I'll manage.
Yeah, I mean, you live and you learn. Glad to have you out by the fire. You do great work for us back in the control room, but I needed to get you over by the fire at some point or another. So, today, I asked you to come on to talk about entertainment, seeing as we're both big movie buffs and both really have entertainment at like the focal point of our lives. You know, we both want to entertain as a career with, you know, making movies and stuff like that. So I thought you'd be a great guest to come on and talk about the philosophy behind entertainment. Now, there's a few ways we can go about this. You know, we can talk about what it is that makes people, you know, entertained, or what makes us want to entertain others. So there's so many different angles and thoughts I can't wait to share and to hear today. So let's get into it. Why don't you take us away?
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, entertainment is a huge part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we make like whole days out of like going to the movies. We can go to dinner and then we like watch the movie and then we talk about it. So there's something about entertainment that brings people together, whether it's going to a concert. I mean, you see stadiums filled with people, or even like sports events. I mean, that's not usually something that we do.
No, not something that I am entertained by as much. And that's another thing we can go into. What makes some people entertained by some things and others entertained by other things.
Right.
But
it brings people together, and I think that is, I mean, it's hard to go a long time like without that.
Yeah.
And once you get a taste of that, it's hard to kind of move on. And I think when someone like goes to the movies and they get like that spark in them, that it really unlocks something.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, it's such a big part of our lives. I mean, we watch TV all the time.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I'd be talking to someone I don't necessarily know, and then a TV show would come up, and that sparks.
Right, and then you can have a whole conversation with them, and that's with like any form of entertainment. You know, a fellow Patriots fan, or you know, like a fellow like movie goer, or you also watch like Ozark, which is, you know, especially when a show is as popular as something like Ozark or like Breaking Bad, or you know, any really popular show, you can talk to other people about. And it's like, if we didn't have entertainment, like how would you like do icebreakers with people? You know what I mean? It's like entertainment gives us so much to talk about and like connect with over, you know?
Yeah.
And I really like how it brings people together, and I think that that's like an essential part of why entertainment's perpetuated. Because, you know, if you like really think about it, like it's not, one could argue that it's not essential for survival. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like water or food.
Right.
You know what I mean? To me and you, it's essential. You know what I mean? Like, I would go crazy without like my movies and TV shows. You know what I mean? I would have nothing to like do. I would have nothing to like focus on. I mean, I can't imagine life without it. But one could argue that it's not an essential thing. So why do people go and spend all this money to get like a sports ticket, or all this money at like the movie theaters, or like even further than that, why do people pay athletes all this just to go out and perform and do their sport? Why do people pay all this money to make movies? You know what I mean? What makes this entertainment like a part of our economy, even if it's not a like necessity? I mean, it's a comfort and it's a want and it's great, but what makes people going back and back again for entertainment of any form, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it circles back to kind of like that desert island question that everyone gets. Like, you had one movie, one show, like what would you bring?
Yeah.
And I think it's about comfort, like you mentioned. It's about catharsis.
Yeah.
If you connect with something, it sticks in your mind. Even like the experiences around a film. If you see a movie for the first time with someone that's very close to you, or maybe unfortunately it's someone that like passed away and that's one of the strongest memories you have with them. Even like the mere mention of that can bring back a lot of memories.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, it's like dreaming in a way. You get certain emotions and certain feelings that a lot of times aren't present in life. If you had, you know, maybe not a great day, and you want that feeling of joy or happiness, watching a movie that makes you feel happy, or watching a happy movie where other people are happy and kind of spark that feeling in you. It's really interesting.
Yeah, with like movies and TV shows, and I guess you could also say like plays as well. Those types of things with entertainment. Those are where you really see like connections to like other humans, because in those you're seeing like experiences of other people.
Yeah.
Fictional experiences in some cases, in most cases, but with that type of entertainment, you can connect it to yourself. And I think like people are entertained by the fact that, you know, they can like picture themselves in other situations like that, or like maybe they see themselves in a character or a part of themselves. Maybe they have a similar struggle to a character, or, you know, they can look up to a character, you know, not just like kids looking up to like Luke Skywalker, but like adults looking up to, you know, like a good man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Entertainment can also be precautionary tales, like something like Breaking Bad, you know what I mean? About how, you know, people go certain ways and then like that, what it leads to. I think that exploration of the human experience in movies and TVs is what really like draws people in.
Yeah, it's essential. I mean, if you have a story that you can't relate to, or that doesn't relate to really anything, A, you're not going to get an audience. People aren't going to have any strong connection to it. And B, I mean, it's not going to make money. And, you know, behind the studio executives or the music producers that invest in these things, that's their driving force.
Yeah.
But the artist, it's essential for them to say something that matters to them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so many classic songs have stories behind them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to know, like, an artist's inspiration.
Yeah.
And how a really personal experience for someone can find its way to other people, and have other people just have a strong connection to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. And I think that's, like, at its essence, what it is. You know, people, no matter what, always seek, like, whether it's like validation or, like, people don't want to be, like, I don't want to say the odd man out, but people want to fit in to an extent and, like, feel, it always feels better when you know, like, other people are going through the same thing, you know what I mean? If, like, you're the only one who's going through this awful thing, to know that, like, other people, like, can relate to you really helps, and that, like, you can relate to others. So, like, to see human experiences that you can relate to yourself, I think is really comforting.
Yeah.
And I think that's why entertainment, especially with movies and TV, is, like, so appealing to so many people.
Yeah.
Not to mention that, you know, different genres entertain in different ways. You could, you know, why don't we pursue that a little bit? You know, comedy movies. Everyone likes to laugh. Laughing is like, you know, you like to get a good laugh in, and seeing funny things is like a great joy. I love comedy movies. You know, I love getting like a good laugh. I love quoting comedy movies. It's awesome. So I think with comedy, and not just comedy movies, but like maybe like stand-up or like any other form of comedy, that is another thing that relates back to what we were saying before, where they can make jokes and make comedy out of like human experiences, and like make it so like this joke is funny because you can relate to it so like much, you know what I mean? Like, you know exactly like the feeling that that person's talking about, and that's what makes that joke so funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about human connection.
Yeah.
And I mean, we love comedy. Most people, everyone loves to laugh, but it's interesting about where taste comes in.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, my mom, if she has the choice between like a dark drama and a comedy, she's gonna go with the drama.
Yeah.
And that's how she gets that cathartic feeling. Whereas I like to watch, you know, The Office, It's Always Sunny, things that make me laugh.
Yeah.
And escapism plays into that a little bit. You want to see something maybe that you can kind of relate to, but in a different world where you know it's not real.
Yeah.
And you have these absurd situations that you can laugh at because you know you're not in them.
I love that. I love how you said that. I think escapism is like the biggest part of why entertainment's successful for a lot of people. Not for everyone, But for a lot of people, I think for me, escapism's like huge, and that's why I connect myself to like the Marvel universe and Star Wars and like other like franchises that are just like ongoing and stuff like that. Take your pick, like anything, you know what I mean, or even just like individual movies that I really enjoy. I think escapism is the most important part because, you know, life like isn't always easy, you know what I mean? So when people have like these forms of entertainment to go to, you know, you sit down, let's take The Mandalorian, right? Star Wars show on Disney Plus, released every week. Let's say, you know, there's someone out here that working at like super long weeks, and they come home on that Friday and they can watch The Mandalorian, and then for half an hour, 45 minutes, they can be in the Star Wars universe, and their problems kind of like go away, and it's like you're all in, and you're thinking about like that universe, and then you really have like a window into there until it's over, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not just TV shows, you know, sports. Your head's in the game. You want your team to win.
Right.
You know, you're looking at all the players. You're cheering on your team. You see like the crowd. Like it can apply to anything. But I think that escapism is definitely one of like the major factors of what makes entertainment so effective and why people keep going back to entertainment.
Yeah.
And you know, you won't get that escapism without that human connection. You still need a degree of that, you know, to make it an escape still. You know?
It takes you back to childhood. You know, when you're young and innocent, and you know, you're playing with toys, or you're just out in your yard, and you think you're like, take your Star Wars example.
Sure.
You're in Star Wars. You know? You're pretending to shoot stormtroopers or fight Darth Vader or something like that. And you know, as you get older, you lose that innocence, and it's hard to kind of get that feeling again. But when you watch a TV show or a movie that gets you back in that feeling, that kind of, not nostalgia, although that could be another part of it.
Oh yeah.
If you see something that reminds you of your youth.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like everyone always relates back to their youth. They miss that feeling they had as a kid.
Right.
And when you find that sense of escapism and you can go back to that time where life was a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
Entertainment it's always there for you.
Yeah. And I think also it can take you anywhere you want to go in a way. Because, you know, you're talking about how like it can take you back to when you're a kid, but for kids, let's say, you know, it could take you to being an adult. You know how, I'm starting to realize as I'm becoming an adult that, you know, maybe I don't want to grow up so fast. But as a kid, you know, you want to grow up and be this like, whatever, Luke Skywalker, this hero, or maybe, you know, you want to be this or that, like this grown up who like has all like this control and they can do whatever they want.
Fast car.
Yeah, fast
driving.
Car.
Yeah.
Nemo the fish. Like you never know. Like, you know what I mean? There's no like specific criteria. It can like do different things for different people, even within the same piece of art. Take like a show, you know, maybe Breaking Bad. Maybe someone can completely relate to Jesse, and that's their like window character, or that's their mirror character, and they see themselves, and that's how like what they get out of the show is like that experience. But then someone else maybe relates more like a different character, and then that's like how they like think of the show. So even within like pieces of art, people are entertained in different ways. You know, and they could completely ignore or be, I guess, like arrogant to like the other side. Like maybe they don't even know, they didn't even think twice about like Jesse really or whatever character, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like another part of it that's super interesting.
Yeah, and when you watch like a TV show or you rewatch something, you can look at it from other perspectives, but you can't really get that in life.
No.
You can't hit a rewind button and, you know, see what someone else is thinking. It's all about going to different perspectives, going to different worlds. And you can watch a movie from one perspective, again, like Breaking Bad, let's say Jesse, and if you really gravitate towards that and you talk with someone else and they can say, oh, well, I did not like Jesse, I liked Walt.
Yeah.
I thought Jesse was like an antagonist.
Yeah.
And then if you really gravitated towards that series, you want to kind of get that feeling again, maybe you rewatch it or rewatch certain episodes and try to get it from a different perspective. And that's something, another form of escapism that you can't really get from life.
Yeah, I think that kind of nails it. Like, you think about life without like any form of entertainment, and like another part of entertainment is like books, even, and like any form of storytelling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is entertainment. Because you're, like we established earlier, you want that connection, and that's what stories do.
Yeah.
They connect, it's the human experience, So with any type of storytelling, you can get attached to characters, and that's super entertaining too, because then you care. For some reason in our heads or hearts, we can connect to these characters and care about them and become invested in other people's stories. And I think entertainment appeals to our humanity. We feel bad for this character. We like this character. We hate this guy because he's, not a good person in this movie. Or, this guy's super funny. I want to be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
He's so cool. I love that character, Or this character's so cool, like he's doing backflips. He's like jumping out of planes or whatever. I think that, those connections are like super cool.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about like books and just storytelling in general, that's been around since humanity's been around.
Right.
In the caves, they were doing drawings and telling stories. And in English class, after reading Hamlet, we read an article about this journalist that went to Africa.
Okay.
And I believe his ancestors were from there. And he went to this tribe, very secluded, no technology, nothing like that. But they would tell stories, and they asked him, do you have any stories? And he told Hamlet. And during the story, he would say like, oh, there's this King Claudius. And, he marries his brother's widow. And then they had a completely different reaction than an American or an English audience would. And they said, okay, well, in our tribe, that's a sign of honor. And the storyteller was like, no, that's not how it is at all.
Oh, okay.
And they had different interpretations of like almost every character.
Yeah.
But they were enjoying the story.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they came away with the same themes and messages that we did. And even though they had, some differences in terms of like the culture of the story or some of the characters, by the end, their interpretations were similar to ours that we had in class.
Okay.
And storytelling, it's universal.
Yeah.
And even with like books and TV shows, because it appeals to people and you get such strong connections, you want it to last forever.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating.
It is.
Even in presentations, it's so embedded in our lives. If someone's doing a presentation but they're not entertaining, then you're not going to pay attention to the presentation.
Right.
In school, if a teacher's doing a lesson, they need to do analogies and, get the students engaged and entertain them in some way.
Yeah. I agree. I think like entertainment's just so deeply rooted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, take away movies, take away TV, take away books, people are going to find a way to entertain themselves or to entertain each other. You know what I mean? And that's another like thing we can talk about. What makes people want to entertain others? I think one easy answer is, makes people like, makes them like you.
Sure.
Like, oh, he's funny, I like that guy. Or like, he is a good actor, he's entertaining. Or he makes...
Gifted musician.
Yeah, gifted musician, gifted artist, makes entertaining art to talk about or whatever. Anything. I think part of it is like the attention, but I think like, I do feel like it goes beyond that. And I think where it goes beyond that is as an artist or any form of artist who's doing any type of entertainment, right? You're giving someone what we were talking about earlier, and I think there's satisfaction in that.
Yeah.
There's satisfaction in giving someone that escapism or giving someone those human feelings of human connection, and I think there's a lot of happiness to be found in the process of giving those things to other people.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about the gift giving and how rewarding that is when you get a reaction from someone. And I think making music or making movies or writing, it's the same feeling, but you're doing it on a much wider scale.
Yeah.
And I think aside from that, you're definitely right about the attention and the
Right.
to a lesser degree. I mean, you can't have that be your career if that's the only thing.
Right.
And it's fascinating how we use entertainment to our advantage, and how when you have an artist who finds that connection and realizes, okay, this is what I want, how they go about it, and how they use their own personal stories and connections to and channel that through their art sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's where the best art comes from, is a really personal story.
Yeah. And I think like the reason entertainment is important is like one of the same reasons why we like study history.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Like knowing the past so that we don't make the same mistakes in the future, but also just like, you know, maybe not just that, but maybe even in intensely fictional situations, you can find themes of humanity. You know, in all these crazy sci-fi movies and stuff, you can see, I don't know, let's say, Lord of the Rings, right? You know, you have like that sacrifice and that like heroism to step up. You know, you have someone who is just like an everyday man, everyman, you know, then goes above and beyond to do stuff for other people and to like go on an adventure, you know?
Yeah.
So like, even in highly fictional settings, you can still find like maybe aspects and traits of humans that you want to be, or that you like either identify yourself, maybe want to be, want to avoid, or see yourself as, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's another like thing that really connects with people about entertainment.
Yeah, it goes back to the thing of the topic of entertainment being universal.
Yeah.
And existing long before we did, long before generations did. It's from like the dawn of time, it's been embedded in humanity, and that only like grows. And especially nowadays when there's so many different outlets.
Yeah.
Not only can you be like a movie star or a famous musician, you could be famous on TikTok or
Sure.
YouTube and use that to tell different stories.
Right. I mean, you know, that's super cool too, because
Yeah.
you know, like, first, you know, with YouTube, it's like, okay, you're making like content for whatever reason, and it's obviously to entertain people. That's your job, to entertain, right? Maybe you're bringing news about movies or video games or the Kardashians or who knows, you know what I mean? So, then on the other hand, you have something like TikTok where you have like only a few seconds to entertain, so people will make like funny things or whatever it may be. So I think that's like another cool thing, like you said, how there are like so many different ways to entertain. And I think everyone in their lives entertains in some way, you know. Even you could even say cooking is entertainment by like making a really good, unique tasting meal.
Sure.
You know, so I think everywhere in everyone's lives, in some way or another, they are entertaining others, or they are being entertained and enjoying entertainment, you know.
Yeah,
It's just such a human thing, you know.
it is.
You don't really see, you know, like animals watching movies, you know, like there's not as much like entertainment there as
Right.
like, it's a very human thing
Yeah.
to experience. And it's something like very special and very cool to have, and you just can't imagine a world without entertainment.
No, especially when it's embedded in everything nowadays.
Yeah, it's in everything. It's everywhere.
And even like, you know, for different reasons people entertain. Like if they have, like you mentioned, like they want to tell a story from history or bring awareness to a certain topic, you have to entertain people. You might not have to like make them laugh, obviously, but like take a documentary, for example, through like shot selection and the personalities that they have kind of relaying the information. If you can't keep people's attention, you're not going to bring awareness to the topic you wanted to. You're not going to achieve your goal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Entertainment's very important in the spread of information.
Yeah.
You know, and as a society, we function off of the spread of information. You know, if you know, that's just how democracy is. If people can't know what's going on, they can't accurately vote to change things or
Yeah.
to keep them the same if that's what they want to do. You know, so with entertainment being such, you know, everyone's so busy. And if news isn't, or any information, spread of information isn't entertaining in some way, whether it's maybe it's like funny, or maybe it's like shocking, which is like a way of entertainment, or sad, or emotional, or scary, or like wholesome and happy. You know, if it's not entertaining in any of those ways, and it's just facts, not as many people are going to absorb that information.
Right, but the dangerous thing about that is some people rely more on the entertainment than they do the actual news.
Exactly.
And that's incredibly dangerous.
Yes.
When people are spreading misinformation.
Right.
Whether either deliberately or not, you know.
Right.
Either to get like views.
Just reading a headline. And
Yeah.
Then, you know, that headline entertained me in this way or that way, so I'm going to share it, you know. Or like even jokes that don't use accurate information, people take it as like a fact, you know what I mean? So entertainment, you know, can also have a lot of influence on people.
Definitely.
And I think entertainers who are credible, people, let's say, you know, I really connected to this character. Well, maybe I idolize that actor and I care about what they think and say, you know? So that's like another part of entertainment that's a little interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't necessarily like agree with someone or like know them personally, just because of their status, you might kind of pay special attention to them, and then that could in turn influence you. And I mean, who knows if that's right or not?
Because, you know, those who entertain and who are very successful in the entertainment industry do have influence and do have power.
Yeah.
So, well, Matt, this was a great talk about entertainment.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This was so much
this
fun.
was great. I mean, before this interview, I mean, I always knew how important entertainment was to me, but I never really recognized how engraved in humanity it is.
It's
so
everywhere.
This was a really insightful conversation. This was great. Thanks for coming on. And thanks for directing this show. You do a great job with it.
It's so much fun. I mean, even to kind of see the behind the scenes of how you get so involved in these conversations, and to get a live viewing of these really philosophical debates, it's really fun.
Yeah. When I had the idea for the show, I'm glad I brought you on as director.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for watching episode 4 of Fireside Philosophy. Tune in for episode 5 coming soon. Thank you.